Okay, we are live. So welcome everybody. This is take two of Inspired by Free Spirit Fabrics this week. We welcome you. We hope that you are still looking for us and you're out there because it's take two because we were streaming live to my personal Facebook page and there were a few people watching, but not nearly as many as Free Spirit Fabrics. So we welcome you back, fellow sewing enthusiasts. We are happy to have you here with us this week. We apologize for the delay, and maybe the friends that I have on Facebook enjoyed it. But they're not sewers, so I don't think so. Anyways, I'm Sharon Thornton, Free Spirit Fabrics. Anything that you'd like to know about Free Spirit Fabrics, you can find it on our website. It's freespiritfabrics.com. So go there and take a look at anything that it interests you about Free Spirit Fabrics. We have projects, we have fabric, we have programs, we have a lot of things on our website. So please take a look and go there. We are here this week with our creative director, Debbie Stark. We are here in the Free Spirit office here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tell us where you're from, because we all love to know where you're from. We know you tune in from all around the world, and we'd love to know where you're tuning in from. This week, Debbie's going to talk to us about taking an artist's art and bringing it to fabric and the process that the design team here at Free Spirit goes through. They work really, really hard, and it's a long process, and she's going to share a little bit of that with us today. We are going to be focusing on Snow Leopard, Philip Jacobs, and his new line, Secret Stream, which is 12 SKUs, and it's shipping, or 12 designs, however you'd like to phrase that. If we ever say SKU, we mean design. So there are 12 designs in this collection, and it will be shipping to stores soon. So if you see some fabrics here you love today, you just need to make something, reach out to your local quilt store and ask them if they're getting the fabric or if they'd order the fabric, because you'd love to have some. There are some fantastic designs, which we'll show closer. There's a gorgeous turtle. The collection's hanging behind me, but again, Debbie's going to show us a much closer view. We will be joined with Sarah Asby, who's also in the design room with Debbie, and Nancy Jewell and Lindsay Dryden will be answering questions, because I'm hoping we are really on our Free Spirit page right now. So I am going to turn the spotlight video over to Debbie. So Deb, this is going to be take two.
Take two. Thanks, Sharon.
Welcome, Debbie. We are very, very happy to have you with us this week for Inspired By, and tell us all about what you and your great team do to make all this beautiful fabric come to us. So
I'm thrilled to share with you what we do, and I'm actually relieved that this is take two, because I wasn't so happy with take one. So welcome everybody. It's another hot, humid, sticky day in Charlotte, North Carolina, but the sun is shining and we're in the office, and it's always a pleasure to spend some time talking about the incredible talent of the artists we represent. And of course, Philip Jacobs is no exception to the rule. We all know Philip is part of the Cave Collective, but he also has his own collections under Snow Leopard Designs. And Philip is an absolute incredible artist. And I'm going to talk to you today about Secret Stream. And I think before we get into the art and the interpretation and all of that, I want to read to you the inspiration behind Secret Stream, so you get an understanding and a flair for what Philip was trying to create when he created this collection. Secret Stream is inspired by the River Ember, which was a little willow tree-lined river that ran alongside my childhood garden in Surrey, England. It was this river that inspired my love of nature from a very early age. I so loved rowing my wooden boat along the flower-strewn banks and under the weeping willow tree. In the collection, I have tried to capture both the creatures and the plants that inspire me. Fish swimming through the cool green depths, dragonflies and kingfishers, ducks who often sat around me on the landing stage at the water's edge, even the pet turtles that we had as children, which escaped into the river to bask on the logs in the sun. Then there were so many beautiful flowers that grew along the edges of the riverside meadows, including bluebells, foxgloves, and poppies. I hope this collection will take you back to a bygone magical time when life was much simpler and inspire your sewing and craft projects with that same magic. And I think Philip has really captured the magic here. And what is so inspiring and so unbelievable is the beautiful original pieces of artwork that we always get a package of from Philip. And this one is by far no exception. It is absolutely gorgeous. The detail is painstaking. It's so perfect. And I think the important thing to understand is the timeline. It takes so long. I don't even know how long it takes Philip to paint this, but from the time we receive the package to the time you get fabric in your local retail shop, it's at least 18 months. So all of his development time, and then he hands it over to us, and then it takes about 18 months before we get fabric to the quilt shop. So keep that in mind as you peruse your quilt shop and start shopping these designs, because I think Free Spirit takes a lot of time and effort to make sure we interpret the aesthetic of our artists accurately, and we make sure you have high quality, beautiful fabrics. And the other thing about Snow Leopard, as much as this collection stands beautifully on its own, think about it mixed in with some of the Cave Collective SKUs that you have in your stash or you find in the quilt shops. The colors, the textures, everything work together so beautifully. So without further ado, we're going to talk about this first beautiful piece of art that Sarah's really focusing on. And this one is all about the river or the pond. And you see the koi fish and you see the beautiful hummingbirds and you see the dragonflies. Philip presented this to us in the original art form, and he paints it so it's in repeat. And when I talk about repeat, I talk about how it's going to be used and converted to fabric printing. So if we look at the top of this piece of art and we go down and we find that second flower, that's the full repeat here. So it goes from here to here. So actually what you would see is this is the bottom half of this. So you see this is the whole flower. This is just a part of it. So it would continue down there. This flower would then come beyond because it's the repeat, but it's offset over here. So when you look from this side, this then repeats again down further. And I think the biggest place where you can really understand it is here's the bird, the face of the bird. Here's his tail. So again, repeat. What he has done is he's taken the different colors and he's actually painted each color that's represented here within the design. And each color in traditional printing represents a screen. The last time I was lucky to be featured with Sharon on Inspired By, we talked about Denise Burkett and taking her original art and sending it for digital printing, which is a much easier process. In this, we take Philip's original art. I'm going to go back. I'm going to double. We have his original art and we decided as much as that blue is beautiful, we want something that has a little more punch. So we asked him to create another colorway or another option for this particular pattern. And we thought that beautiful, rich royal blue was a little more versatile. You know, it wasn't necessarily spring and fall. It was much more year round. So we had him paint this additional royal screen, what we call an acetate, to give us the opportunity to see what it would look like with royal. We liked it so much, we took the original artwork and we scanned it into our system. And we decided, when we look at this, what is most useful for the quilter? And we often take a design and we look at it. How big is it? What can you capture in certain size designs, whether it's a triangle or a square or a half circle? And we decided that this was way too big to capture the whole thing successfully. And we decided to reduce the scale. So you can see, here it's quite large and maybe it's too large. Maybe it's a whole lot easier to do in this smaller scale. So we reduced the scale. We took his original or his secondary blue, royal blue colorway and created the ground in that royal blue. And I think as Sarah has been sharing the art, you can see the various notes that come back to us from the mill, and it's all written in Korean. No, we do not know how to read Korean, but that's okay. Maybe one of you viewers out there does know how to read Korean. But this is some of the information that the mill shares amongst itself between the engravers and the print floor, and then all of this comes back to us. So what we've done is we've separated it out. It's in 15 color screens right now, and each screen is cut to represent that color. So if we look at screen 6, we know that that color orange is over here in the flower, and it's probably captured a little in the fish, and it's captured, maybe over here in this fish. And that's a screen. So it's very much like this piece of acetate. This acetate is the ground, it's color 1. And so what the screen looks like really is just capturing these really interesting designs with a lot of omit, because then the second screen gets printed, which might be the omit of white. And then the third screen gets printed, which could be this sort of putty color. And as it goes through the process, the color gets layered on and the final piece is created. So what you get there and what we have received, this was probably our last strike off. We have very few and small pieces left because we've gone to production. But this is the strike off that we ultimately approved. And you can see how they've captured so much of the original art. The detail work in the fine lines is really very beautiful. You know, we work really hard with the mills to get all the attention to detail. You can see both the gray and the white over here under his little chin or under his beak. You can see all this detail of the little tiny dots that make up the texture on the top of his head. You can see some of the feather details in here. Some of them, it's hard because when color falls on color, you lose some of the detail. And because fabric is so porous, it absorbs some of the ink. So it does tend to distort a little bit. And we understand that, and we try to make allowances for that so that we can maintain the original piece of art as much as possible. But if you look at the frog, the detail on the frog is just fabulous. The scales on this goldfish or koi are amazing. So we feel like we've done a really good job, and when we feel like we've gotten as close as we possibly can, and we certainly have worked with our mills long enough that we know what they're capable of achieving, we will approve a strike off. From the final strike off process, once an order is submitted to the mill, we get production. And then you can see just how much the production matches back to the art, matches back to the approved strike off. So we went from original artwork where it was a large scale with a light blue ground. We changed the blue with Philip. We decided to reduce the scale. We got his approval on the reduced scale. We sent this and the original piece of art to the mill. They came back to us with a final strike off that we approved here. And then we printed production here. A winner all the way around.
It's pretty amazing.
It is really amazing.
We have a question.
Yes.
Can I interrupt you?
Of course you may.
All right.
And I have the gift of gab, so interrupt all you want.
How many colors in general is Philip working with?
So when we print traditionally, we have a maximum screen count of 18. So you really cannot have more than 18 colors in a print.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes we maximize at 18. Sometimes the mill takes it upon themselves that they can do half screen or oh gosh, I'm drawing a total blank, but they may decide that they don't need all 18. They can do it in 15. And sometimes we send them something that might require 15 screens and they bump it to 18. It depends on what they're doing and how they interpret the art. And Sarah, do you have another question?
There, I did.
Okay.
Wait, we're going to show you Sarah.
Okay, show Sarah.
Sarah's
Good.
going to say hi.
Hi,
Sarah.
everyone.
So Sarah's letting us know what the questions are that Debbie's going to answer.
The next question is it built in layers in Adobe Illustrator?
So it depends. Each and every one of our artists work differently. And my team here is each one of them are assigned to a particular artist and they work back and forth. So some of our artists submit just original artwork like Philip, and then we do all the translation. Sometimes we have designers that submit Illustrator files. Sometimes we have designers that send us Photoshop files. Sometimes designers layer their files. Sometimes designers send us flat files. It runs the gamut. And we're very flexible and we very much try to work with whatever art is submitted to us. It's very rare that we send it back and say we can't work with that. We've
Right.
never done that.
Right, right.
My
Yeah.
team is amazing.
Have you ever gotten any art like on a cocktail napkin?
You'd be surprised what we get some art on. Yeah, and it's okay. But honestly, our artists are all professionals and they send us beautiful packages. Sometimes it comes in a big package of design. Like Denise has so much design and she's constantly painting and she's constantly touring the countryside of Australia. she's not quite sure how to make the collection or what might be the most important elements. So she'll send us everything, and we have a lot of correspondence back and forth on what ultimately becomes the collection. With Philip, he works so far in advance. He just has his mindset. He gets to work, and sometimes we'll get some art and we'll feel like, it doesn't really fit with the collection. Let's save that for next time. But of course, it's conversation back and forth with the artist. We would never make that decision in a tunnel on our own. It's definite conversation. I hope I answered that question because we have so much good art to share.
That's right.
So this is the next piece, which is the turtles. And I love the turtles. And I think some of you might remember this sort of whirly gig in the background. I love that he's used that to represent sort of, the waves in a pond or a stream. And then you've got the incredible texture of these beautiful turtles. And we didn't really do much to change this. We actually made the scale a tiny bit bigger. And I think it's because we wanted to make sure we could always capture some great detail, regardless of where we pulled from. I mean, it's just spectacular. And I find that Philip has a great eye for mixing textures. As a matter of fact, I don't know that we'll get to it today, but see this texture here in this turtle? We actually created a black and white design out of that because we felt like we needed a little breather from the collection. We needed a little space. And actually, Sarah was sweet enough to find the production for me. So that design was interpreted into black, gray, and white to create this. And it's a piece of this collection. And it's just gorgeous. It allows the collection to breathe a little bit. Thank you, Sarah. So we took this guy. We took the original piece of art. We enlarged it. We created this. We sent this. So we send everything in a big package to the mill. But we scan everything in all at once. We play with design. Then we came up with the standard. And this becomes our color standard with the mill. But we do send the original art so that the mill understands the nuances of what we're trying to capture and achieve. We went through the strike-off process. Here is the approved strike-off. And we took off some of the indicators so that everybody doesn't see all of our secrets. But this particular collection has 16 colors or 16 screens. So there's a black screen, there's 2 gray screens, there's a brown screen, a red, sort of a corally red, sort of dirty, mauvey, fleshy tone. You've got 3 greens, 4 greens. You can almost not even tell the difference between 10 and 11. And you've got this very neutral beige, you've got the yellow, and you've got 3 more blues to create all of the colors that you see in the fabric.
So Debbie, you said that you can do up to 18 screens, correct?
Yes,
So in this particular one, would you say Philip uses 15?
we use 16.
16 in this one.
Yeah.
Would you say that most artists that you guys work with are using between a certain range, or it just varies by artist?
I think it varies by artist. I will say that an artist like Tula or Anna Maria probably maximize screens the most. And Cave, Philip, Brandon, they probably do the most maximization. Brandon is more simplistic in his art, so I would say maybe we don't ever get to 16 colors, but certainly 10, 12. And that's only for 44, 45-inch goods. On our quilt bags, we have more limitations.
Oh,
But as we, scour the world for the right printers, we have found newer printers that do more screens in their quilt back printing. So we are very excited about that because that allows us to get more color and detail.
that'll be exciting.
And you've noticed that in Tula's quilt backs and Cave's new quilt backs. And so here we have our strike off, which was approved. And then here is our first round of production. And you'll see just how beautiful it all matches.
I have a question, Debbie.
Yes, Sarah.
How do you decide if it should be enlarged or reduced?
Great question. So we take all of the art that's submitted to us and we lay it out on this big table or we post it on the walls and we just start playing. So many of our designers love big scale. And big scale is really hard to work with, especially if you're not an advanced quilter. And we have to remember, these are beautiful cotton fabrics. So people don't just use them for quilting. Maybe they use them for apparel or other things. Maybe they're making a duvet cover. I mean, we're not quite sure, but we know that our focus is the quilt industry. and the quilt maker. So we go back and I work with Sharon in Inspiration and you, Sarah, and our whole team works back and forth and we work with the artists to say, as much as we love the stream, this scale, it really isn't conducive to the piecework or the applique work that some of our quilt makers might be doing, or the patterns that we're so familiar with. So we want to reduce it. And we start playing. So I drive the team nuts, and I've got an incredible team. The design team will reduce scale. They'll enlarge scale. They'll tweak a couple of colors, and we'll go back and forth until we feel like we have a really cohesive collection on the wall. And we know that you need light, medium, and dark. You need large, medium, and small scale. So we take all of that into consideration. And just when we think we're done and we've got it all, we step away, we come back a couple days later, we look at the wall again, we probably tweak a little bit more, and then we send it to the designer for final approval if we've made some serious changes.
Do you want to talk about another
Yes.
design? And then
Are you
have
ready?
more questions.
Okay.
When-
Excellent. I'm just going to I apologize for
Oh, that's fine.
stealing and moving things that you're trying to
I'm
take.
just moving the camera around.
Okay, so here is a design that Philip submitted, and you can see he painted this in 2015.
Wow.
So he dates his art, and I find that really interesting. And this happens to be a piece. So I've only been with Free Spirit since 2016. I was in the industry a long time ago for a long period of time, left for a while, came back, and we had a drawer full of Philip's art. And this is one of those pieces that never seemed to really fit quite right with a collection. But we felt like this secret stream was so beautiful. And don't you think of beautiful daffodils out in the field? So we took his piece of art, we played with it, manipulated it a little bit. We wanted to draw in another level or shade of that rich royal blue. So instead of doing the light blue with the medium blue, we swapped positions. Of course, we got Philip's approval. He was all about it. He said, that's absolutely fine. And then we punched up the colors of the actual daffodils. We love the white flowers, but we felt like the yellows could be just a little more intense to marry back to some of the things we were seeing in the turtles. So we got approval on that. As you can see, our intent was to do 14 screens. What came back from the mill, this might be a perfect example. Yeah, here's a perfect example. They only cut 13 screens. They felt like it wasn't necessarily to capture. And really, one of his screens was white. That's probably an omit. So it didn't really count as a screen cut per se. So I would say we probably have 13 here. But this, you can see just how well they did to replicate the darker blue and the lighter blue. And they really captured that strong, vibrant yellow.
So Debbie, when you talk about a strike off, I know you've told us before, but what is, people that are not working in the industry may not necessarily know exactly what a strike off is.
Okay, that's a great question. So what happens is the mill will cut small screens. It won't be done on a big production machine. All of the strike offs are done by hand. So they will literally, people will layer the screens and do the print work. So what happens is we have to understand the mill's capability and where there's fluctuation. And we know that pressure could affect color. So while some of these colors may not look exact, they may never look exact because it's all hand done. And when we get to production, what happens is the line work usually gets a little cleaner, everything gets a little crisper, and the color becomes more uniform. So strike offs are done by hand. And I have to tell you, for our artists, we are really picky. And my team will say, I will pick it until they put it on the boat. So what happens is, ideally we'd like to do 2 rounds of strike offs at most. Sometimes we go to 3 and even 4 strike offs. It depends. It depends on how colors laying next to each other. It depends on if we're working with an artist who all of a sudden doesn't really like the background color and they want to change something. But we try to keep those changes to a minimum because as we talked about timeline, it takes 18 months from the time we get art until you get fabric in your store. And really, all the work is done up front. So we have to get it right. And we continue to go back and forth, but there comes a time where we have to draw the line.
Mhm.
An inspiration has already been created. So now we can't change a color in a strike off because we're just too far down the road.
Right. Thank you.
Questions? You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions, Sarah?
Does the artist choose the theme or do you ask them to design around a theme?
No. So what happens is the artist chooses the theme. We work so far in advance. So we talk about that 18-month timeline. 3 months prior to that 18 months, we start talking about what a designer is thinking about submitting. So we want to make sure we don't have every artist all of a sudden sending us frog art. We want to make sure we have a nice diversity within each release. So we start the process, we start talking about it, but we very rarely indicate you must create a collection around a secret stream.
Mhm.
We sort of let that evolve naturally.
How about colorways? Do you suggest colorways to the artist or is it driven by the artist?
Sometimes during the discussion of the collection, we talk about color. Sometimes we know the way we're now introducing collections, we try not to make sure this the same sort of aesthetic is being released by more than one or two artists in a release. So when you think about color, we have a couple designers I can think of that have this really rich use of color and it's very bright, but it's primary. And we know that about that artist. So we make sure we don't introduce another artist at that time that's real primary doing the same sort of thing. So I'm actually already working on 2023, trying to figure out who introduces when, so I can make sure that there's enough diversity within each release so that designers aren't stepping on each other's toes, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, talk about the beautiful.
Yeah.
fox
Okay,
coat.
so this is Foxglove and it is gorgeous.
It
And
is.
we went round and round with Philip on this. Did we like the darker navy blue ground? He originally submitted as this beautiful, gorgeous blue, mid-tone blue. He did give us the option of more of the navy, and I just have to line that up right,
Everything. Yeah.
which is really gorgeous too. But when we looked at the collection and we knew when it was shipping, this goes back to color. So here's a conversation. We know we're going to release it in October, but we know it's not going to ship until June-ish or July to the stores. So we want to make sure coloration wise, it's versatile enough. We know not everybody is designing or creating or making for the season, and it takes a while to make. So we try to keep it a little more neutral. And in this particular case, we felt like the foxglove was a little big and the colors were a little too autumnal to relate back to a secret stream. Because when you think of streams and you think about fish and you think about birds, you think more spring, summer than fall, winter. So we played with the foxglove a little bit. We take some, liberties and some licenses to tweak color, always with the designer's approval in mind, but maybe it's not as realistic in this pink color as more of this plum purpley color. But again, it's creative license. So absolute gorgeous. So again, we took the foxglove, we reduced it, we tweaked the color a little bit. We went back and forth with Philip. He was fine with it. And we sent this to the mill to get our first strike off. And when we look at the strike off, here is our strike off. And again,
Good.
you can see the beautiful detail in the colors here. You can see the veining in the leaves. Oftentimes, we don't know how many engravers are engraving a collection. Does the same engraver engrave every piece in the collection? That we don't know. But we do know we try to keep certain collections with certain print mills because of the quality and talent of their engravers. And I think they've done an incredible job here. And then here's production. Again, it looks just like
It
what we
does.
approved. It's
It's really
absolutely
close.
beautiful.
Well, I shouldn't say close. That's
It's
perfect.
It's pretty close. I mean, like I said, as we get the strike off, this was all hand done. So pressure might have been a little different. We know that the green might be a little richer in the actual production than the original. And there are certain variances we have to allow too. These machines, when they load the screens and they start the printing process, they run fast and everything needs to be in sync. And things, humidity can affect color, heat, speed, all kinds of things can affect the actual print quality at the end. But we felt like this is beautiful.
Speaking of that process,
Yes.
someone wants to know what country is the printing?
Okay, so all of our 44, 45-inch wide collections are printed in Korea unless there's a caveat. So in the case of a batik, that would be done in Indonesia. But our 44, 45-inch wide goods that are printed traditionally are printed in Korea.
Got it.
So that is foxglove.
It's beautiful.
There's another piece that I think we've had for a while.
I think everyone's getting great ideas, Debbie.
Oh, good. I want everybody to be inspired because these pieces make incredible quilts. And I know that Sharon
Do.
is going to probably review some of the inspiration pieces that were created with these designs. And they're gorgeous. And they are meant to wet your whistle. So you run out to the quilt shop and buy
That's
these
right.
beautiful fabrics. This particular one is toadstools. And to me, so Philip painted this in 2019. So he painted this specifically for the collection. I remember going back and forth with him saying, gee, it's 12 SKUs. 12 SKUs is a great number for the collection, but you know, maybe we need something to replace another design. And he said, oh, I think toadstools. I'm already working on it. So he came up with this and I kind of laughed a little bit because I thought, it's really psychedelic. But again, we talk about Philip and his attention to detail and his line work and his textures. And these textures are incredible. We also know that most of our quilters don't love brown. So this is where we've taken some creative license and we have manipulated the colors once we scan the design into our system. So we didn't change scale here, but we did tweak color because we wanted to ensure success. Now we kept some of the richer, deeper browns, the browns and the blacks, so that it matched back to the turtles, but we took away a lot of this. And if I give away a little secret, Robert, one of our owners, doesn't like brown either. So we try to make everybody happy. And here we've got our first strike off, and this particular one was 16 screens. So you can see they've utilized almost everything, yet the screen count that Philip thought we were going to use was 17. They were able to achieve the same detail and same look with 16 screens. And you'll see just how beautifully that matches. And you can see the repeat. We talked about repeat before. Here's the repeat top to bottom.
Mhm.
And let's see, top to bottom. And I want to find my repeat from side to side. I don't have the full. So I don't know that I can't.
Is it here and here, there and there?
Well, that's the half. Yes, no, nope, because that's different. See what happens? You have to have the full piece to really see it. But again, there's production. So how fabulous is that?
Pretty good, Deb. You and your
It's
team.
beautiful.
Debbie, how many
Yes.
fabrics are in a collection, or how many colorway choices per collection?
So that's a hard one. And it depends on the designer. When you talk about the K Facet Collective, we do an excess of 60 or 65 SKUs in an introduction, and they introduce 2 times a year. But there are 3 artists in that, and they as a collective, all of those pieces work together. And every quilter wants the opportunity to pick and choose what they use and know it's all going to work together and be successful when they finish their project. Other designers, Snow Leopard, we found more success keeping his collections tight because again, if you think about it in the bigger picture, you can take many of the Cave Collective reorderable pieces or pieces that are in stock all the time at your quilt shop and work them into these if you want more variety. Then you've got an artist like Tula Pink, whose collection is usually about 24 SKUs. But on occasion, we do a 12-piece collection like line work. So it just depends. It depends on timing. It depends on how much is out there. It depends on the market. It depends on, are we doing a single colorway? Like you'll notice in Phillips, it's one colorway, 12 unique designs. Somebody like Tula, who's doing 24 SKUs, might actually have 12 prints in 2 colors, but those colors work across. So it's indicative and dependent on the design.
Sounds
Another
good.
quick question,
Yep.
are the artists under contract with Freesphere?
Yes, we have license agreements with all of our artists. Okay, here's another yummy, fabulous textural detailed painting. I love, this was done in 2016. And again, I think Philip has done ducks before. And as much as we love this colorway, obviously the colorway was a little sad and dull and realistic for Secret Stream. So we took our creative license and, oh, I don't have my piece of paper, but we took creative license, we scanned it into the system and we said, let's play with color. And we wanted to keep it very gender neutral so that if somebody wanted to take this beautiful piece and make something for their significant other or their son or their nephew or their best friend's son, we had something fantastic that they could do it with, and really rich blues and greens, and it plays back to that Secret Stream palette. You've got these beautiful yellows that we used in the daffodils. You've got the greens and some of the blues that you've seen in the water and the turtles. I mean, it just plays across so beautifully. And again, this is one where they've, almost maximized screens. We've used 16 colors here. And we've really captured so much of the detail. I specifically wanted to show like this guy here. See all the dot work that makes up the texture and the line work that makes up the feathers? We've totally captured that here. Yes, we've changed the colors, but we've gotten all of the detail.
It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing when you think about how ink sits next to each other. And again, fabric is porous. It absorbs some of that ink, but absolutely beautiful, crisp and vibrant, really beautiful.
Art's unbelievable.
Yes, and then there are Korean details. So that is the quack, I think is what we call that skew.
You want one more?
Yep, how about one more? Okay, so here's another beautiful piece of art, the bluebells. And he called it Bluebell Wood. And this is another piece that came to us in 2016 that we've been trying to figure out. And Philip is great. He knew he was going to do Secret Stream. When he was going to get to it and how it was going to get put together was a different thing. So, he paints whenever he's up to painting, and he's constantly painting. So this is the original piece. We felt like we needed a pop of white to really make the collection sing. So we took the art, we kept it in the same scale. We pretty much kept the same colors, except we made a white ground and we tweaked the purple to be a little bit more violet, a little bit more pink cast, and we thought it was really beautiful. And then we've got strike off number 1. And in this particular case, it was only 9 screens. And then we got production. Really beautiful. And you have to remember, you will never get the same white ground on fabric that you get on paper. It will always be slightly different.
Beautiful. So much to see.
So much to see, so much goodness to talk about. And I
That's
mean, there
right.
are other coordinates that we could talk about, but I kind of would like to share with you a new artist that we're introducing.
Ooh. Are we going to get a
And
sneak peek?
You are totally getting a sneak peek.
While we
Alright.
set it up, do you want to talk about inspiration?
Yeah.
Yes. All righty. Well, I'm going to
Thank
show.
you, Sarah. Great call.
Yes. Thank you, Debbie. So far, we've loved every minute of it. So I'm just going to show you all the sales card really quickly while Debbie gets ready to show us a sneak peek. So this is Secret Stream by Snow Leopard Designs that Debbie just talked about. It's a total of 12 designs, and it's shipping to stores soon. Here are all, you saw the foxglove, and the toadstool, and the ducks. There's some gorgeous butterflies. And there's that black fabric that they pulled out of the turtle's back, called turtle shell. And there are the turtles again. And what I'd like to do is roll this over. So here's one piece of inspiration where this is primarily just showing you, wait, I'm trying to hold the camera, where you can just take the collection and you can use a solid background. In this instance, it's the black. And then we also teamed it with Jane Sassaman's handcrafted cottons in this particular piece of inspiration. And then you can see how nice that turtle would be as a quilt back, if that's what you chose to do. And then here we have Flower Garden. the name of the quilt? Whoops, wait, I'm putting my hand over the camera lens. That is not going to help. The Flower Garden quilt. And so this quilt is showing the collection together, you know, with a white background on it and just displayed in a different, you know, a whole different presentation from the black, then showing it with the white, and you can see how the colors jump off and look really pretty. There's also, nope, there's nothing on the back. But what I wanted to say is, wait, I'm gonna pop myself on here. Sorry. What I wanted to tell you all is what you could also do is you could also do like a 3-yard quilt. You could, you know, these designs are just gorgeous, and you could do that. Or you could also do like a 1 block wonder. So think about all the different ways that you could cut up all of these patterns and make some really gorgeous quilts. So there's a lot to do. You can make quilts, you could do home deck, you could do baby quilts. Sarah mentioned today that the turtle would be adorable as in a baby quilt, maybe for a boy. That would be very
Here's where you see that
adorable.
texture. See
Right,
how it's pulled
right.
out?
Yep. So the texture there. So, and actually you can see in the butterflies how the black and white and gray play so pretty with the butterflies. So great collection. Debbie showed us a wonderful, showed us all the wonderful things that you guys do. The Free Spirit team works. Like I said, I know they work hard. Like Debbie said, it takes a long time to do all this. So now she has a sneak peek,
Yes.
everybody. No one's seen this yet.
Nobody, and it just is being seen by quilt shops. So you need to go in and ask your retailer to make sure they order this collection from Sarah Campbell. And Sarah Campbell is a talented, incredible artist from the UK. And for many of you, you might remember the brand Collier Campbell in the bedding and home decor world. Back in the 70s and 80s, it was a huge brand. Well, Sarah and her sister were Collier Campbell. And Sarah has since ventured out and she's doing art on her own with us at Free Spirit. And we're creating her first collection with Free Spirit. I believe she's been in the industry before, but it's called Fresh Picked. And here is another artist that does all of her own painting. She is just like Philip, old school, hand paints everything. Not only does she create the beautiful art, and you'll see there's a piece of acetate over it to show us again the repeat, but she pitches her own colors separate and apart from the actual painting. So you can see how every artist submits something very different. She creates the little, what we call chiclets, which represent the color that's within the piece, but she also provides us with chips for every color in the entire assortment. And it's really stunning. So we share as much of this with the mill as we can, but we also use these chips internally to create our color standards once we get scale and everything right. So I think it's just important to understand just how diverse and unique each artist is in their assortment, in their aesthetic, and in how they present their art and packages to us. So again, this is something that we are showing in July to retailers. It will be available in stores in early spring, and I want you to be out looking for it because it's gorgeous.
Mhm.
So we've got this beautiful design, and off the top of my mind, we're working so far ahead, I don't remember this particular design name, but the collection name is Fresh Picked. And we took it from the original, we scanned it into our system, and we felt like in keeping with the Free Spirit aesthetic as much as the designers, we popped the colors a little bit.
Mhm.
And rest assured, before we went and proceeded with this, we sent it back to the designer so she could see the direction we were going when it comes to color. So we have the piece that we have scanned in. We sent that along with all the other SKUs in the collection. And we just got our first set of strikeoffs back yesterday. So I'm super excited, and that's why I'm sharing it with you today. So here's Sarah's, and while some of the colors may not seem as many as what we just looked at with Philip, here's an example of having utilized all of the screens. They utilized all 18 screens.
Wow.
So what you see often on our salvages is you'll see the Spirit to Create, which is our little mantra, and you'll see our website, and then Free Spirit Presents Fresh Picked by Sarah Campbell. So our designer designs this piece, then we give you the pattern ID, We give you the name of the pattern. And then each one of these flowers represent a screen for us. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Wow.
And they
I
have utilized
love
every color.
The flowers are pretty.
Aren't the flowers pretty? They're very
Yeah.
abstract and very free. And I love the little dot in the background. Everything about it is just super, super pretty. And I'm going to just turn it so you can see just how well the mill did on their first round of strike-offs. Now, we had comments. It's not perfect. We sent it back for corrections. Like, to me, the greens could be a little more yellow, a little more saturated. But again, that comes with the conversation. This is hand struck off, so the pressure might be affecting some of that color. So we have those back and forth conversations. But I mean, I think they really captured a lot of the design elements in the center. Obviously, this color here is a little off compared to here. So we make tweaks and it goes back to the mill and we'll wait for the second round of strike-offs. But the process takes a long time. So that's the first big design.
Wow. This is exciting,
Wait to
Debbie.
see the next one.
See why
I
you wanted to
just
show us.
love this pattern. So I love how she's incorporated the black and white check in the background, which really makes the flowers stand out. Again, we took a little liberty with her blessing and we popped and punched up the colors ever so slightly, because we also know that some of the colors are not achievable here, but we don't want them to be muddy. So we just clean them up a tad bit. And then we got our first strike off here.
So these just came in yesterday.
Yes, this is a big
Hot off
treat.
the press.
We very rarely show a collection before our retailers see it, but I just thought it was so fun. It will get everybody excited to look for it, and keep an eye out for Sarah's video talking about our collection with you all.
Mhm.
It will be posted on our social media pages as well, and hopefully YouTube at some point. But again, you can see, there needs to be some color adjustments made here, but the engraving itself is really fabulous. Like, they caught and captured all of the hand-drawn squares. It's not perfect. It was all hand painted. It's really, really beautiful. And
Mhm.
again, we take a look at, oh my gosh, how beautiful is that section? What does that add to a quilt? Let's think about that in a square. Like, there's lots of things you can focus on as you play with this.
Yes, and Sarah helped, Sarah Campbell helped design a lot of the inspiration for this because she had
Yes.
some very specific ideas in mind. So there's some really beautiful quilts, and we have even some another surprise with the collection. You'll have to look.
Yes, keep your eyes posted. We've got
Yeah.
lots of goodies coming along with Fresh Picked. And I think, what's really interesting is Sarah is good friends with Brandon and Cave. Cave was featured in the Anthropology flagship store on King's Road in London. And this past winter, Sarah was also featured with a special gallery and exhibition at that particular Anthropology store. There's a lot of synergy between our artists. There's a lot of, it's a very tight-knit group. So I just think it's really special that Sarah has decided to join us at Free Spirit and create this line. And again, we talk about color. We've got some great little plaids that we're introducing. Look how cute. Wait till you see these. Look at this. Look how fabulous
That's awesome.
these checks are, and this black and white. I mean, just really super. And then we've played with some, we talk about large, medium, and small scale. Here's some of our small scale. Here's how it layers in. I mean, just really beautiful. And, yes, you've seen some really large scale florals in this collection. Here's something that we consider more of a medium scale. So here's Sarah's original art, along with her hand-painted color chips. And you can see how vibrant. So see, she wanted something vibrant. She started with vibrant, and then she got a little softer over here. So we said, let's use this as our inspiration and pop the other colors to go with it. So we've got the original piece. Here is our scanned piece that we sent to the mill. Let's turn that around so you can all read it. And then here is the first strip. Super beautiful.
Wow.
Again, it can get a little punchier, but it's
Mhm.
pretty. Look at that.
Wow. You guys do a great
Just looks
job.
great. We're so excited, and we think Sarah is going to be fantastic, an incredible addition to the Free Spirit family of artists and designers.
Yes, we're very excited.
Yeah, we are
So
too.
this is totally, no one has seen this at all.
Nobody has seen it except our sales reps who just got their sales folders. And
Okay.
I mean, just got their sales folders. We're talking to them all tomorrow. We don't have them yet. So this is really a sneak peek, big treat for you all. But just so you can see what goes on behind the scenes and be on the lookout for Sarah, because she is an absolute delight to work with. I think you will find her just fascinating. And her work is really beautiful. And from an inspiration perspective, Sharon has a lot of little goodies up her
Well,
sleeve.
right. Well, Sarah had a big hand in that. So I would like to, I think our Sarah Asby, has some questions that we want to share with or ask of Debbie. But before we do that, I would just like to, do we have any of those fabrics or are they all put away? The snow leopard fabrics that we just showed everybody. We are going to do a giveaway. We are going to have 2 winners. Look at the Sarah Campbell is right here. Well, that's okay. Are they handy? Are they?
I'm grabbing some. We won't.
So the collection which Debbie showed you, and we already saw all of it. Thank you for pulling it back out.
Of course.
We are going to have 2 giveaways. We're going to have 2 half-yard cuts of the whole collection, which are 12 pieces of fabric. Are going to go to 2 different people, 2 different winners, and our Sarah Asby is going to pick the winners. So what we'd like to know is, of Philip Jacobs designs, what are your favorite designs? They don't have to be just this collection. They could be any of his designs that you particularly love and are always looking for. And, you know, a particular color or multiple colors. It could be this collection, if that's what you'd like to tell us, the ones that you'd like from this collection or your all-time favorites. So just let us know what you'd like, and there'll be 2 winners, and Sarah will pick them, and we will ship you the fabric. So that's exciting. Now, if you could all answer that question, and then Sarah is going to ask a couple more questions, and then we're going to sign off for today.
Just have one question. I think it's interesting though, is do you watch the industry color trends, like by the Pantone?
Yes, we do pay attention to that. And oftentimes it's a little fashion forward for our market, but we pay attention to it. And then we look at it from a timing perspective where we are currently in our assortment. And we want to make sure that whenever we introduce collections from our designers, that there's synergy from collection to collection. So if Philip released a collection 6 months ago, we want to make sure that if there are any coordinates that are still left on the retail shelf, that it marries into the next line so that the colors continue to create a story. Tula is really known to make sure that all of her colors continue to work together from collection to collection. So if you have things in your stash, you can pull them back out. If you have something that you're in need of and the inventory is in the store, you can buy additional pieces. It's really more about that so much than trend-worthy colors. But our designers pay attention to it too. So it's not like we say, everybody has to use Pantone blue this release, because then everything would start to look the same.
All righty.
Last question is there ever a consideration, particularly with a group that's as large as the Cave Collective is, going back and looking at some of their earliest designs and reissuing them as they were? I know the answer to this one. Reissuing them in a different colorway.
Yeah, normally what we do is with each release of Cave and the Cave Collective, in one release, Cave's designs are all new. And we look at past designs from Philip and Brandon, and they recolor them. They meaning Cave predominantly, Brandon and Philip in tandem. We do no work on the Cave Collective. Everything comes from Cave, and we just do all the interpretation and do all the work with the mill. There might be a conversation that a scale should maybe change, but very rarely. And then on the next release, we do recolorations of Cave designs that have been asked for and brought back to life. And then it's new designs from Brandon and Philip. So there's always that balance. And there's always something familiar, yet it's new because it's been recreated and recolored.
But what's awesome about this collection is it's snow leopard. It's just Philip Jacobs.
Correct. It's no leopard. It's just Philip, and Philip has a very unique aesthetic, and he has an incredible background in fabric and decor and the industry. So it's really nice to see what he pulls together. Joey's from his little magic world, his little special secret world.
All righty. Well, I would like to say thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah
Thank you,
Asby,
Sarah. I couldn't
for
do it without you.
helping. And Debbie Stark, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us this week on Inspired By. And remember, this is the Secret Stream by Snow Leopard, Philip Jacobs, and this will be shipping to stores soon. And until next time, which is next week, we will see you. We will be back next week with June Taylor, and we will be talking Christmas items. So tune in next week. We look forward to seeing you. All right.